But you don't lose much in the transaction when you have Scott Pruitt to a Memo Rojas. Both drivers are very talented, and I think when it comes to nighttime racing, I think one can be just as good as the other. So I think they have a very good deal there. All the Target Chip Ganassi drivers are here from the IZOD IndyCar Series and all forms of motorsports. It is an all-star lineup for both teams.
Yeah, that's why they have won this race on 4 different occasions for the Chip Ganassi Racing entry and that duo. Motor Racing Network with you here at Daytona International Speedway, our first ever flag-to-flag coverage of this event. You can like to thank everybody for listening to us on MotorRacingNetwork.com, also streaming live on GrandAm.com, WNDB 1150 AM here in Daytona Beach, and on SpeedTV.com during these overnight hours. We'd like to welcome everybody, and be sure to interact with us even at this early morning hour on Twitter at MRN Radio and hashtag AskMRN. If you have a question for either us or Woody Kane on pit road or any of the crew with us here this evening or this morning.
Whether it's interacting this way or interacting in the infield area, there's still quite a bit of partying going on. We've touched on that. There may be quite a few people catching a catnap right now, but again, that's the beauty of the 24 hours of Daytona. They want to come for the party atmosphere. They also want to come to see these cars race at nighttime, so they are taking a break, but there is still a lot of activity. Over 75,000 plus were in the infield a year ago. Still very festive down there again this year. It just boggles the mind, just all the things that are going on here at Daytona International Speedway.
And we are 23 minutes from the halfway point of this race. And you mentioned there are a lot of guys and girls and crew members taking cat naps in the infield and along pit lane. Woody Kane, what is the scene like at this hour of the race?
Well, I'm walking up and down the pit road area here, and every 3 feet there's somebody sleeping in a chair. A lot of guys trying to grab a few winks, a lot of guys getting some drinks, a lot of guys getting a little refreshment from food, a little protein to keep them going through the evening hours, and everybody trying to make it to the end. Not just the cars, but the people have to make it to the end as well, guys. So these guys are catching winks as they can. And
this is the time of the race where we do see that fatigue factor begin to set in within 3 hours of sunrise here at Daytona International Speedway, and we'll keep an eye on that. It's amazing the pit lane now, buddy, compared to what we saw, say, 6 hours ago, just as the sun was going down around 7, 8, 9 o'clock hours. Fleet, not sure if we're on record pace or not, but they completed just over 760 laps a year ago, and that was with 14 caution flags last year. This year, only 6 yellows thus far, none for major incidents.
And one of the things we've talked about at a couple of different stints is the attrition rate or the lack thereof. There really hasn't been that much attrition. When they lined the GT cars up on a restart not that long ago, it just was the longest line you've ever seen. There has not been that much. Occasionally, a driver here or there in the DP and the GT category has gone behind pit wall. They've made the necessary repairs, including your defending Rolex 24 champion, the Michael Shank Racing Team, and their driver, A.J. Allmendinger. They are laps down right now, but they have made repairs. They're back out, still with hopes of a good, strong finish.
Also, a kudos to Wayne Nonemaker right now behind the wheel of the number 42 car. That team making their very first start in the Daytona prototype class from Team Salem. That BMW moving up from the GT ranks a year ago. And they have been strong, buddy, ever since they hit the racetrack as far as speed is concerned. And this is kind of the first endurance test for them and reliability test. But ever since preseason, the preseason testing took place here in January, they've been fast.
And I've been a huge supporter of them because they've done such a great job. They've been a long-standing team in Grand Am racing. And as Mr. Nonemaker said, testing's one thing, racing is another. And, of course, they're getting a good schooling right now. This weekend they have a 2-car effort.
In this race, Carlos De Cascada behind the wheel right now, and that car makes its way off the tri-oval and back into the infield portion of this course. But De Cascada behind the wheel and limping that car around the racetrack right now at speed, but still a lot of sparks showing from earlier problems, and that is something we'll see more of as this race continues to unfold. Dario Franchitti's lead continues to be a healthy one over Ryan Hunter-Reay in that second spot as the race leaders go back into turn number 1. Haven't hit too much on the GX class, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, but the GT battle is continuing to be a good one. Alessandro Piergitti continues to lead in the number 63 entry. That car out of the Scuderia Corso stables. The Ferrari out front by not a large margin. It seems like a half a second right now between himself and Nicholas Armendio from Magnus Racing. A close battle, and we talked about it earlier, buddy, before we came on. GT, no matter how long the race is, whether it be a 2.5-hour race or a 24-hour race, it's always close at the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it. You and I have gone on the road for no matter what it is. 24, sailing 6 hours at the Glen, a 2-hour, 45-minute race. Somehow, some way, by the time you get to the end of it, it is going to be 5 to 6 cars that are right there at the very end, which is always awesome.
And Armendio is all over that 63 Ferrari at the exit of the infield. They're up onto the super speedway and nearly side by side for the top spot going into NASCAR Turn 1. The battle for the lead for GT. Alessandro Pierguidi in the Ferrari. The Magnus Racing Porsche. Nicholas Armendio. And here they go, side by side, buddy, into the bus stop on the back straightaway. Had a look, but slower traffic preventing Magnus Racing and making the pass.
But you did see the power of the Magnus Racing Porsche as it did make its way down the back straightaway, and they did have to lift slightly for a slower car as they made the entrance to the bus stop. And we can also see the vast difference by virtue of having to just slow down just a little bit. Pierguidi now has gained by about a 20-car length advantage as they work back into turn number.
Wide through that 180-degree left-hand turn into the infield, let another GT car by and lost a ton of ground to the race leaders. They make their way again through the infield course now on the short straightaway, separating the East Horseshoe from the West Horseshoe. That left-hand kink in the GT battle for the lead continues on. They'll make their way back on to the super speedway in just a moment.
And as we mentioned, Magnus Racing, they have a 2-car effort for the 2013 season. We talked about Team Salem. They moved up and out of the GT category up into DP. But with the addition of a second Team Magnus car and your defending champion in GT, AIM Autosport, also fielding a second car for this year, things are looking very good in the GT category. From Daytona International Speedway, this is MRN, the Motor Racing Network.